Welcome back to another episode of Dungeon Hammer, brought to you by One Mind Syndicate. I am your host, Gersh1, and I'm here with my two co-hosts,
Docile Creature
and the Sound Alchemist.
and today we're going to be talking about the best Dungeons & Dragon race of all the races in Dungeons & Dragon.
Of all time, of all the races, of all Dungeons and Dragons,
Of all lore.
of all time.
Of all editions.
You stole mine.
Oh, sorry. So, again, kind of the same thing as like the worst races. This is just a disclaimer. We don't necessarily believe that there is one specific race that's better than all the other ones, even though humans, I mean, yeah, they are the best one.
Feet, though.
Yeah.
They got some great feet.
But screw everybody that chooses a human to play in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign in a fantastical universe where you can be a lizard person, a midget in a bathrobe, and you choose a human because you get an additional feat. You power gaming piece of. So let's talk about our the best races.
I feel personally attacked.
Good, you should.
Yeah.
All right, let me start it off with a runner-up that I almost chose to be the best, and that is none other than Birdperson Aarakocra.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I played an Aarakocra.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty fun to play, but I think their best ability would be that they can fly.
Yeah.
The bane of dungeon masters. Lots of people complaining about how level 1 you get a fly speed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a regular fly speed; it's 50 feet, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's most medium-sized creatures only get a 30-foot walk speed, so being able to fly and it being super fast, it's definitely pretty good.
It
Like,
is.
dang, what are you, a tabaxi that can fly?
Got him.
Yeah, we're just rats with wings. But yeah, I mean, when you're going up against a new DM, that's definitely got to be like something to be worrisome about. Where it's like, oh, now I got to think about a way to like hinder this person with this awesome ability. Like I got to give my guys crossbows, or now I got to change the setting to a cave where flying doesn't really mean so much.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it's kind of like the human where right off the bat, you get something that other people don't get. So as a player, if you are a new player, you have a huge advantage because you get something, you basically get a y-axis that you can do things in.
Yeah.
You're not just tied to the X and Y.
You already overcome so many obstacles that the DM can put in front of you just because you have wings.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good choice.
Yeah, but that wasn't my choice. My choice was another thing that can potentially fly, the Asimar.
I didn't know they could fly.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that
For the Protector Asimar.
Ah.
Because you could be Protector, Scourge, or Fallen. Yeah.
Because yeah, an Asimar is an angel, right?
Essentially, you've got angelic blood in you.
Oh. Okay.
It's changed throughout the editions, but I think 5th edition states that, yeah, you've been mingling with, like, angels or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty vague, but you can kind of do whatever you want with it.
Yeah. But definitely the Protector out of between the Scourge and the Fallen would be the better choice. For one, you get a minute of flying. You could deal an additional radiant damage to your attacks. So I think that's going to be a big boost in especially early game and late game. Because say you need to jump up a mountain or get something in a tree, you just fly.
Yeah, and let's be honest too. And if you do play an Asimar, it's badass. Like it's cool to say I have angelic blood.
It's right in the name.
Yeah.
Ass.
Ass. I see the benefit of playing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you also get to heal yourself a little bit. It's not really too crazy, but it could come in, in handy, especially if like somebody's down to 1 HP. Like if you're playing a half orc, they come back. You could, or is that an orc that comes back?
Half orc, yeah.
Half orc, yeah.
The thing about picking that, how do you feel role playing wise? Because you are already starting off with such a huge lore buff. Like you are an angel or a half angel. Like, how do you tone that down?
You definitely have like a sense of grandeur to yourself. For example, if you are like a descendant from the angels, it's like obviously you're gonna feel like you're better than common old Joe over here,
Yeah.
who's literally just came up being born a farmer and now he's gonna go adventure. It's like, huh, I'm really gonna talk to you when I have the blood of the followers of God or whatever it is.
Yeah, Joe's probably all docile.
Very,
Very.
very creature looking too. So that's why it's better to play your character with that type of like grandiose nature, almost like you're a high elf. You see others as beneath you.
So then what you would be... So do you think that it is up to you to overcome that? Like, your character arc then is to go from a grandiose, basically stuck-up angel to more...
Down to earth.
Yeah.
Because also another thing too is you could be tasked with like a feat to like quell the demons, and like through fighting with your common man, you've grown to become more, I guess, complacent with their position and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that could be like the whole character arc for you, going from a stuck-up angel to accepting others for who they are, regardless of position or status.
I like that. As a player, it gives you a lot of backstory to play with, and the DM, same thing. It kind of gives the DM the ability to play around with angels.
Mm-hmm.
Builds up a little part of your arc just
Yeah.
from picking the race.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Cat got your tongue.
Yeah, it really did. Oh, something that I really like about the Asimar, it kind of like counterplays with the Tiefling, is you play around with that angelic ancestry. Like at any point in the campaign, you could have the attention of angels or whatever it is that your divine blood comes from, and they can seek you out for whatever reason, and that can really add a whole arc to the campaign, or the whole campaign itself, depending on how integral these divine beings are to the story.
Mm-hmm. Or it could
Introduces
be
Old-Plane, yeah.
you could be the weakness to the party, where it's like demons are hunting you, trying to take like your angelic blood or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Or somebody tries to eat your eyeballs,
Because
your blood.
you're rare.
Your hair.
your hair.
Yeah, it'd be a very interesting dynamic to have an Asimar and, like you were saying, a Tiefling in the same party and see how that interaction goes. Maybe they fall in love. Oh, then they make a half Tiefling, half Asimar, baby.
Oh man, that would be horrific.
Who's like a quarter orc, right? Or some shit like that.
Why not? Yeah.
So something that our DM did now, how do you feel about this, is making, and I also kind of agree, is making Tiefling and Asimar not just like a human mix. Like, for example, my last character was a Tiefling, but he was a Tiefling orc, half-orc.
I really like the idea of that, but I feel like it comes down to like what traits are they keeping, what are they forgoing, and it's like there's a lot of like, I guess, metagaming where I know if I was trying to make like a half-breed, I would want to have obviously get the best of both worlds, but I know with like genetics it's not always the case. So I'd almost feel like I'd leave that entirely up to the DM to say, oh well, if you're playing a half Asimar, half Tiefling, you gain the fire resistance, but because of that you can't deal your radiant damage, or now you don't have the ability to fly, but you get like more demonic powers.
Yeah, the way that it worked for my character was I just got the aesthetics from one and then the racial abilities from another.
Which, that's cool and all, but I felt like it'd be better if it's actually like a combination of the two.
Yeah.
I think having a combination of the two is something that a DM should do for like an experienced player who has already maybe played two races, or they want to play another race but they want to have like a twist to it. So throwing two or combining two races and then basically creating your own race out of the two for an experienced player would be kind of badass. But I think if you're new to D&D,
it's best
might as well focus on being an Asimar, and then just fully exploring both what you can do as role-playing and just on the tabletop.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, but that just gives you a whole lot of inspiration and like stuff to kind of look back and analyze to see how you could improve your overall gaming experience, both in combat and also role playing wise. And that's why I think that the ASMR gives you a lot of really creative ideas to work with.
Do you feel that playing an ASMR is kind of putting you in a box of like, we all know what an angel is supposed to be, and for you to break those boundaries is a little harder than if you were to play any other race that doesn't have as much background information on it? Because when you think of an angel, obviously you connect it right away to religion.
Right.
So if you didn't want to play a religious angel or a divine angel, do you ever feel like you're put into a box?
If that's the case, you can always just pick like the Scourge or the Fallen, where you've like renounced your religious ways, and you're kind of cast away from like heaven or whatever angel your religious background is.
So you could draw from popular culture, but at the same time you could also break off into a different route because of the subclasses. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's like the one thing that kind of puts me off from ASMR is that, like, well, they kind of know what an angel is, and I don't want to like have to fulfill the role of a specific type of character outside of this world.
Right. Because that was going to be one of my ideas for a character. I was going to pick an ASMR, but that's both Fallen and Protector, where he would get the Protector traits during the day, but during the night he'd have like the Fallen traits. And it's almost like a bipolar disorder where you have two personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm like, I think that's too much to deal with.
If you have a consistent group, I think that would have been badass. Like if you have the opportunity to role play consistently, where people can actually pick up on the fact that you have two personalities, that would be cool.
But I felt like most of our games take place during the day, and it's like nighttime is mostly like sleep. So it's like if I am asleep with my other personality, then you're not really gonna see it as much.
It's true, I guess.
Also, I find myself forgetting things that I have for one subclass. I couldn't imagine having to juggle two of them.
Yeah. Especially if you're using like apps and stuff, where it becomes more difficult to integrate two.
Yeah.
It does sound cool.
Mm-hmm. What about you guys? What's your favorite and best race?
For me, obviously, whenever you think of fantasy settings, I think there are two non-human races that come to mind. Maybe three. The first one is elf. The second one, orcs, and then finally the one that I'm going to choose, dwarves.
Yeah.
Because that's like the core Tolkien like fantasy race. And I just love playing dwarves. I think dwarves are the best race to play for a new person, just because you're tough. You're like built specifically to be a tough guy. Like you have proficiency with heavy, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And then you get 2 + 2 to your, what's the toughness thing
Con?
in D&D? Con, yeah. So right off the bat, you can be a tank, and then depending on what class you choose, you can also be a hitter. So either fighter or like barbarian. So for a new player, that based on the statistics on the tabletop, you're going to be a tough person. And then on top of that, you just have so much lore to fall back on, from Tolkien to like the World of Warcraft to pretty much every single fantasy, even some sci-fi worlds or universes have a dwarf type of creature. So there's a lot of background for that. Even as a support piece, if you are basically a forger, so you can help people out with the most basic of things, so like fixing their armor, fixing their weapons, which really comes in handy, especially if you guys are a party or a party that, or if you have a DM that's going to take into account that you are a traveling party and you constantly need to upkeep your equipment. As a forger, just having that background already at your disposal puts you in a position to be a really good support piece. And then the other thing that I really like about dwarves is the fact that you have an inherent flaw built into your race that you could use to build your character throughout a campaign, and that's the height. Most people want to be the badass edgelord tiefling because he's a badass, or the strong as hell Goliath. But if you're a dwarf, I think there's like a sense of like, I need to prove to these people that I can be a traveler.
The Napoleon complex.
Yeah, and you get to exploit that. So It's a whole like another mental like kind of like your bipolar thing that's already built into the dwarf aesthetic. Like you need to first play something that has that flaw in them. Every single time you're going to visit every single village, every single person is going to try to test you, and it's up to you to like have your character grow from that.
I get it because he's short.
Yeah. And it's better than a halfling. It's better than what's the other one? A gnome, because you get to do a cool ass voice if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You can do your what is it? Your Scottish voice.
Yep.
So it gives you a whole like role playing element that you can exploit, already built into the character.
And even mechanically, I think it's the only race in the game that has the access to 2+2s in their ability scores. They get a +2 con, and a mountain dwarf specifically gets a +2 strength. And they're the only race that gets that. So they're special in that way.
Yeah, they're rugged, they're tough, they're built for exploring and just fighting dragons.
And then the other subclass gets +2 whiz. But what I was going to say is, every character needs constitution.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So you can really, it might not be quote unquote optimal, but a dwarf can be anything. And then if you pick the hill dwarf or whatever, you get a +2 whiz. So, but another thing which is pretty nice for them is a dwarf wizard gets access to heavy armor.
Which is really rare for wizards.
Yes, wizards don't usually get proficiency with any armor, and having a heavily armored dwarf wizard would be really cool.
Yeah, a little tank spell slinger.
Yep.
Yep,
Some of the heavy armor has a strength requirement, so you might have to put some points into strength if you wanted to go that route. But still, I've never done it, but it makes me want to do that just because I want to see be the battle mage with their heavy armor going in and fireballing fools
In the back.
Yep.
In their jetpack.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot them in the jetpack.
How do you feel about the whole stigma of like, people are going to judge you based on your size?
Well, like I said, it's a perfect role-playing opportunity, and it's a good way for the party to see a growth. So, like, in the beginning, you can respond to that negatively. And then, like, as the campaign goes on, you kind of show growth by next time somebody points out the fact that you can't do something because you're a dwarf, and you just brush it off. It's like, oh, yeah, the character's maturing, which is kind of cool. If you get to that.
Right, if you don't die before.
Right. But that's the cool thing about dwarves. They're rugged. So if you die as a dwarf, odds are somebody else in your party has already died too. Or somebody killed you.
And they can get really drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they can drink a lot, not get really drunk.
Yeah. Even though we haven't had a DM that has used that to a certain, to a significant degree, I guess. Because you could say you're getting drunk, and it's cool, but like, we haven't seen a DM that actually like does something with it.
Like drunk mechanics.
Yeah. It's mostly just like, oh, you're drunk, you're not drunk, yay.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, now you have like an exhaustion point or something like that.
Yeah, if they did something like that, then that's interesting. Yeah.
Or if you get into a fight while you're drunk, you're rolling at disadvantage.
And then if you're the only sober one now because you're a dwarf, then you have that coolness to you.
Now, is it just drunkenness that they're resistant to, or is it like certain poisons?
Poison, yeah.
Poison.
Oh.
So it'd be good in a drinking contest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If we go into a fair and we're supposed to drink a bunch of ale, Fenrisian ale.
Sure.
We're in Fenris now. That'd be interesting.
A dwarf in Fenris.
Not just that, but to have a D&D party with regular D&D characters, but on Fenris.
That's perfect because Fenris is basically a feral world. It's perfect for a campaign.
Fighting
fantasy
kraken,
campaign.
trolls.
Yeah.
You could come across Vikings.
Packs
and
of
have
wolves.
like the main bad guy you're actually fighting a space marine.
Or a Slaneshi demon.
Mm-hmm.
That'd
Or
be fun.
a fat yellow dog who wants to eat you.
Yeah. Docile creature doesn't know what we're talking about.
All this is going right over my head.
Which one?
Whoa.
But yeah, I was never one to be drawn to dwarves. Because every time I think of dwarves, DW wolves.
Sound it out.
I always think of Gimli. or that's his name, right? From
Gimli.
Gimli.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he was never my favorite from Lord of the Rings.
But that's the thing. Like, you have so many options from other universes to kind of copy. The cool thing about Gimli is the fact that he has that
That rugged nature.
or that rivalry with what's his name?
Legolas.
So going into a campaign with that idea of like, oh, I need to pick somebody, and that's going to be my rival. And it's already something that happens in other universes that you can like leech off of and build a cool story around, which is why I love the fact that The Hobbit exists, the fact that like Lord of the Rings exists, because you have so many options to pick from.
Yeah, the Hobbit movies are a good inspiration for like how different dwarves can be too. Because you got Gimli, and then you look at like Thorin Oakenshield, and then all the other ones. I don't remember any of the other ones.
The fat one.
Yeah, Gloin or Bloin. Or...
The blowing one, yeah, blowing. He rolls around and knocks orcs off their feet.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I don't like dwarves, guys.
He's lying. You will.
I'm pretty sure we've all seen The Witcher here.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Did you see the part when like they were going to get the dragon and you had that band?
Yeah.
It's like, realistically, like how do dwarves live and fight and do all these crazy feats? Because like when I saw that band of like the dwarves in The Witcher, I'm like, what are these guys gonna do?
Yeah.
That's why it's a fantasy world. You're not supposed to look at that stuff.
I guess.
But the cool thing about dwarves, and Witcher did a really bad job of it because they casted somebody that just looked like a short person.
They casted dwarves.
Like real ones, yeah. No, but the cool thing about fantasy dwarves is the fact that they are not, you can tell that they're not human because of their aesthetic. Like they are born with just like a different physique. They get beards right off the bat. They live 500 years. Women have hair where, they're not supposed to have hair.
Well, if they want to have hair.
No, they're going to. That's what the book says.
So they can't shave it?
No, you can.
No.
But the point is...
it's like metal beards.
Gotta get a weed whacker.
But the point is that they're very, like... They're humanoid, but it's apparent that they're not human. Mm-hmm. They have that fantasy element to them.
Like elves. They can pass as human, but they're... Yeah.
Yeah, the elves have their whole, like, elegance and, like, moving fast. Dwarves have the fact that they're just, like...
rugged.
Yeah, they're built... Their bones or their muscles are more like Space Marine muscles.
Where it's like metal.
Yeah.
They're Primaris humans.
Or rock.
I love making... If I'm in a campaign with a dwarf, I like making the joke that they eat rocks, so get ready for that.
Well, you told me, son. I was just going to have a rebuttal for it.
Cool.
Cool. When you've known you've given up.
Yep.
Cool.
Dope.
What about you, Docile?
So, I kind of took... Obviously, human is the best race. But I can't pick human because, y'all hate humans. I get it.
Why would anybody pick humans when you can pick, like... everything else?
Because you're a power gamer and you're a piece of shit.
Here's the thing, though. It's not even power gaming.
That's true, I guess.
It's just they slot so well into everything. And you get a feat at level 1. Level 1. Feats are so powerful. But I didn't pick human because that would have been too easy. I went for the next best thing, which is a half-elf.
Oh, I was going to say human variant.
No, that is the human variant. So, half-elf... They kind of walk the line between humans and elves. They get a lot for their race. You get 3 pluses. You get +2 to charisma and +2 to any other that you choose. So, like humans, you get +1 to whatever you choose. Instead of a feat, you get a +2 to charisma, which charisma is usually useful in speaking to people, which you're going to do in D&D. They get dark vision. They get the long life of elves. They have advantage of being charmed and immune to magical sleep. You get proficiency in 2 skills of your choice, which is awesome. If you have that character build in mind and a background that doesn't support it, or you're not going to get those skills naturally. Mm-hmm. 2 extra skills is always good.
Yeah.
You get 3 languages: Common, Elven, and one of your choice. So again, there's a lot of customization that you can do with the half elf. And like I said, you kind of like how you talk about dwarves have that flaw, and Aasimar have like that angelic blood that they have to deal with. Half elves kind of walk the line between two worlds. They're not fully in either one. Like humans might not accept you, elves might not accept you because you're not an elf, you're not a human. So you kind of got to deal with that, seeing how you don't really fit in anywhere because you're a mix, I guess. Which I think that's really cool to play around with.
Yeah, it's like you're the outcast no matter where you go.
Yeah. And another thing that I really like is there's a bunch of different kind of elves. So you can be a half drow, a half wood elf, a half high elf, half eladrin, and you can kind of play around with your DM to maybe... I think there's actually a bunch of different variants. I haven't looked into it too deeply, but that give you extra stuff depending on what half... Do you know anything about that?
Just vaguely, but again, it's just more customization. But do you know if you also get certain traits for the human side, or is it just the elven part?
Well, from the human, I think that's where all the
Bonuses.
Choose what you want comes in. You get the extra language, which usually humans get, that of your choice. You get the 2+1s of your choice. You get a language of your choice. I think that's where the human part comes in, and the elven part comes in with the
type of elf,
the dark vision, and the lack of you can't be charmed and you're immune to
don't
sleep.
Yeah,
I think half elves have to sleep, unfortunately, but because being able to just meditate for 4 hours is awesome, but half elves are...
Your human side weighs you down, kind of.
Yeah. And the good thing about getting 2+1s is you can be anything. Like, half elves can be good at any class.
But I feel like most half elves that I've heard about are bards.
They make very good bards. Bards they like charisma and they like skills. So they fit very well in that. But like I said, any character could use charisma and +1 to anyone you want, plus the 2 skills to kind of customize. Like if you want to be a barbarian, you get the strength and athletics or whatever. You can kind of slot them into wherever, which is what I like in classes is they don't kind of... Because I was going to pick half-orc because I love barbarians. But they're very niche in how they play. Because they get strength and con, I believe. And you kind of lean towards barbarian. Their abilities kind of lean towards barbarian. But what I like about the human and what I like about the half-elf is that they can fit anywhere. And so you can get more play out of it. Like every character, you can pick a half-elf of every class, and I don't think any of them would be bad or unoptimized. That's just me.
Yeah, it's like you're like a spicy human.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
Little Puerto Rican.
Sure.
That's a spicy human.
And that's when I think spicy humans, I think of Puerto Ricans.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you played a half elf before?
The thing is, I don't think I ever have.
Would you lean more towards the human aspect or the elf aspect of you? Like, because you have played halfling or half something, or what are they called? Because they're not halflings, right? 'Cause that's an actual race.
Half orc,
like a half something
races.
Yeah,
like mutt races.
So when you're playing that, how do you choose to lean? Which side do you usually tend to lean?
Like, do you lean like a cholo?
Or do you lean like a Puerto Rican?
I think I would tend to lean more towards the elf because people don't like humans. But being an elf is cool.
So why not just play an elf?
Because I like that line that they walk between human and elf. It might half elves might be cool to, like, if you're in a group and you don't have any humans or elves, you got to get into some human territory. Send the half elf. Hey, I'm half elf. We got to get into the elven territory. You don't have any elves in your party. Send in the half elf because you know them, right?
That flaw does make you very relatable, or it does bring like a... Because like whenever somebody does play an elf or something that's supposed to be a race that's like supposed to be stuck up, kind of like your Aasimar, there is that stigma of like, oh, this guy's going to be a dick. But as a half something, then all of a sudden you're like, well, he has a flaw, and I think it gives the party more... I don't know what the word would be.
More empathy towards them.
Yeah, more empathy towards them. Yeah.
Definitely.
So that's cool.
I think the moral is give your characters flaws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Because they're fun to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even though it's great to be this OP guy that never has any worries about him, you got to bring him down to earth somehow. Make him relatable, make him sympathetic and empathetic to their cause, and you'll find out that you'll have a better time at the table with your party.
Yeah.
Faux show.
I was really surprised that you guys didn't choose something that was more alien. It seems like we all kind of chose something close to human.
Yeah.
Which
just shows you how
it's strange a little.
Yeah, it just shows you how great humans are.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of like just goes to like the core fantasy. That's why, besides ASMR, these are in like the main rule book because these are kind of the iconic races that people want to play, and that they're actually good makes it fun to play.
Now, you two didn't pick a runner-up. If you were going to pick another race to be, the best one, which one would you have gone with?
I would have definitely gone with just a personal favorite, which would be lizard folk.
That's what I thought you were going to choose.
Because, oh God, I love lizard folk so much. They get to make weapons and like tools out of the dead people that they kill. They can eat. Like once per short rest, I think they can bite somebody and like gain hit points and just start eating them. They have that alien mindset that they're not quite like they're gonna be weird to run across because they don't think the same way you do. They're kind of amoral creatures, and I just like the aesthetic of this big. I've always liked it ever since I was little. My brother tried to get me to play D&D when I was very young. I was like, I want to play a lizard man. And then it started rolling out all these math and numbers, and I was like, nah, I don't want to play this game. But that's what I would have chose for sure.
I would have done Canku. I think
Canku.
the flaws within the Canku are like there's just so much. You're a bird that can't fly. You can't really speak. So I think playing a Canku would be a role-playing challenge, like a huge
Definitely.
role-playing challenge. How to create something that's not annoying. Because their whole thing is that they just mimic people. So, yeah, I would have said Canku, just because it's a good challenge. I wouldn't say that a new player should play a race like Canku, because there is a lot of flaws with it, too.
Which is funny, because that was your first character.
The Canku? Yeah. But we really didn't know how to play, though.
But still, I really was, like, invested into your backstory.
Yeah, I went all out. Don't do that no more.
Go all out and die the first session.
Yeah, I learned how to play D&D now.
I've wanted to like kind of do a Canku. I don't know how you would even do this, but have like a soundboard of like sayings that you've like maybe if someone says something at the table, you're like, hold on, say that again into this thing. So you just press a button and like make sentences out of these soundboard clips or whatever, just to kind of like bring it to the table, and so you don't necessarily have to, depending on how you want to play it.
Then that's really the challenge. The fact that like you can do cool things like that, but that can really bog down a game. So like a session can be like, oh, okay, let the Canku player figure out how he's gonna organize everything. But at the same time, yeah, it would be a lot of fun.
The gimmick can get old quick.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I would be cool with it because it's just such a cool.
That's because you'd be a good DM.
That's because it's you. You're cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, pals.
The human player.
That's right.
And when we were talking shit about in the beginning of the
Human
podcast.
master race.
Comment down in the comment section below. Let us know what your favorite race is, and if you have a top list, what is it? Is there something that we mentioned or that we didn't mention that you thought of? Comment down in the comment section below. And with that, we'll talk to you guys next Thursday. This is Gershwin.
The Sound Alchemist.
Docile creature.
And we are signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.